Everybody loves talking about winning in a recession, but what about not losing? Isn't that what matters? You can make bold moves, but you've got to shore up the foundation. That is the only way you can make bold moves. Because your bills are probably going to rise, the markets are shaky, and fear, well, it's everywhere. So what do you do when offense isn't the next step? What do you do when survival is? I've talked about how recessions can create millionaires. More millionaires than any boom ever could. That is, if you know where to look. But what if you're not ready to make that big move yet? What if you're a little standoffish? What if you're just trying to keep what you've already built? You're in pure survival mode. Protect just the principal. Well, then this episode is for you, because surviving in the storm is just as important as seizing the opportunity. I wanted to make sure I covered that today. So how do you weather the storm without losing everything? What steps can you take right now to reduce the risk, protect your assets, and come out stronger? Let's talk about that. My name is Chris Naugle. This is What Now? What's next to survive? Here's the truth. You can't control the economy. It's kind of like the serenity prayer. But you can control your response to it. That's what separates those who survive from those who get wiped out. And the key to it is smart moves, quick pivots, and above all, the mindset that leans in against all the panicking. Now let's talk a little bit about how you're going to protect what you've already built, what you have now. That's going to be one of the most important things about this video. I know I've done so many videos about how to thrive and how to build in it, but let's just get down to the basics. Some people, they just want to maintain. You see, when the economy shifts, the first instinct is to slash everything. But listen, cutting smart is an art. You want to trim the fat, not the muscle. Your lifestyle is probably the first place we're going to start. Like the subscriptions you probably don't need, the luxury upgrades you probably don't necessarily have to have, the non-essential spending, but do not cut things like your mentorship, your education, the tools for your growth. Those are the things you're going to need to keep. So we got to cut the fat, but we got to keep the muscle. The investments that you really need are the ones that are going to pull you through this storm. And I know it sounds cliche, but have you done your budget yet? Seriously, we've talked about this a lot. You know, the little T chart, left side is your income streams, right side is your expenses, and then your debts underneath it. How much extra do you have, and what are you doing with that extra? Well, that's one of the actionable steps you need to do before we even get into the actionable steps. But here's what I want to talk about. I want you to literally come up with a 30-day audit. I want you to highlight every expense that you have. Green is for essential, red is for non-essential, yellow, negotiables. Then what I need you to do is I need you to cut and pause anything that you put in red. Keep what fuels your long-term growth strategy, but you got to cut the excess. We also need to renegotiate and rework some of your things you're doing right now, like cash flow, because cash flow is oxygen. So if you don't have cash flow and if you lost your job, are you done? Especially during a downturn or a recession. So here's the good news. Everything is negotiable in a recession. You could call your lender and you could renegotiate your lease. You could call all your vendors. You could renegotiate the terms. You could call your credit cards and renegotiate everything there. Even if you don't think that they're going to say yes, just ask them anyway. You'd be surprised, because during an economic downturn or a recession, things happen. See, it's not just about saving. It's about creating room so you can breathe. See, room that you can reinvest those dollars later. So we're going to make 3 calls this week. Number 1, I want you to call your mortgage provider or your landlord. Try renegotiating that. I want you to call 1 or 2 or all of your credit card companies. Renegotiate them. And if you're a business owner and you got vendors or suppliers, renegotiate the terms there. Ask for a rate reduction, payment term extensions, or ask just for a temporary pause. Because you know what a lot of them will say is yes, because they don't want you to just stop paying them, and they're willing to negotiate. The next thing we need to talk about, and you've heard me say this before, is that emergency fund. But now is the time that matters more than ever. You're gonna need 3 to 6 months. We're out of the runway that we had before, we don't have anymore. You're gonna need at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses, and you're gonna need those living expenses in liquid assets, not tied up in stocks or real estate or anything that you can't get your money out. This is your buffer. This is your power to say no to desperation. So first thing, calculate your true monthly survival number. This is kind of like that budget. What does it cost? If everything else failed, what do you need to pay? Your rent, your health insurance, so on. And once you add up all those basic bills, I want you to multiply that by 3 to 6 months. And then start stacking cash in high yield savings accounts, T-bills, money market funds. No fluff, no excuses, just do it. You might not need it, but isn't it good to have this prepared? You see, fear makes people sell low. So it makes them bail out on long-term plans. I've seen this over and over. But wealth is built by being consistent. It's not built during chaos. So if you're in a chaotic mind state, then you're just gonna panic, and you're just gonna panic sell. And those decisions you make are gonna be bad ones. So have a plan and stick to it. Write down a financial strategy. You see, we haven't gotten to the thick and thin of it, so write it down right now. Write down your investing rules and do it when you're calm. When the market's crashing and everything's freaking out, that's when everybody's not calm, but your plan's already going to be written out. The other thing you're gonna wanna lean into is your education, your mentorship, where you learn. I saw this during the pandemic, and we're gonna see it again. Because recession is not a time to go dark, it's a time to go deep. Don't isolate yourself, educate yourself. Join a mastermind, get around webinars, grab a coach, do all those things. But you know what else you need to do? Subscribe to this channel, duh. And there's a little bell up top. Smoke, God, came out of nowhere. Just like a recession. Smash that bell so you're notified every time I put out new videos and content. They don't cost you anything but your time. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have the money to hire a coach. Great. You know what the best coach is? A book. Read every day. Stay ahead by staying connected and being sharp. Books bring you where you need to be. Books show you the truth behind this. I mean, there are plenty of books about how people have thrived and survived during recessionary periods. Those are the ones you should be reading right now. This all gets you ahead of the curve, and it doesn't put you behind it. But you've got to work at this quickly. You got to build those actionable steps. So choose what steps do you want to do. You're going to enroll in a course. You're going to join a weekly mastermind or a weekly webinar. You're going to hire a mentor. You're going to invest in accountability for yourself. That's one of the things I use mentors for, is just accountability. You see, it's cheaper than regret. And if you're not sure where to turn, that's why I created MSTV, Money School TV. See, MSTV is like the hub. It's live group mentorship with the mentors that we have here. It's advanced trainings. It's a community, and it's just $19 a month. So cut something else. Get into MSTV, because that's where we're going to be kind of going live. We're going to be giving you all the info. And also, if you do the annual mode, which is $190, we're going to give you a bunch of extra stuff. And you can try it out, like test drive it, kind of like a car. Test drive it for 30 days. If you don't like it, cancel it. No big deal. But this is where you get around the right people, the right strategies. All right, now let's get back into how to recession-proof your budget. How to build your budget and a plan so that you're going to survive through this. I hit this earlier, but let's talk about budgeting again. What stays and what goes? When you do your budget, it's kind of like a battle plan. It should reflect your values. It should reflect your vision. So ask yourself, what stays? Should be a simple question you're going to ask. Things that make you stronger, things that make you smarter, things that make you more profitable, yeah, those are things that stays. But what goes? Everything else. You can always restart them, so don't feel bad about cutting something. You got to rebuild your budget from zero. And literally, sometimes that's the best way to do it. Start at zero and rebuild just the basics. And then, as things get better, as we build additional income, then we can layer things back on. The other thing with rebuilding your budget is we got to list out your incomes. And I want a contingency plan if your income goes away. Do you have a secondary income? And you need to allocate all the money that's left in your budget to an emergency fund, okay? And after your emergency fund's taken care of, we can look at what is the investment plan? What are the smart assets that we can put money into or prepare to put money into? Remember, there's no rush. So a recession, what it does is it exposes weakness, but it also rewards people that are prepared. So the steps we talked about today, yeah, they're simple, but they're powerful. And you gotta take action today, not tomorrow, right now, because now is what matters. Hey, on that note, did you see last week's episode that we did? Yeah, it talks all about opportunities that present themselves during a recession. I'll put that video up right here. Check it out. And also remember, you don't just survive recessions, you use them to build your future so that you can thrive.